Good evening, everybody. Bonsoir, bonsoir. That reminds me, someone, I think it was Stephanie, said you should do affordable French lessons on YouTube. I would pay for that. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I will someday. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's been a busy week as usual. So what I'm going to talk about today is are judges afraid of criminals like Jedidiah Brown? You know, your average, let's say, criminal, maybe who's involved in a gang, that gang isn't maybe particularly politically connected, or someone who commits a robbery and they're not necessarily politically connected to anybody. That's different, right? So we're talking about people like Jedidiah who currently work for politicians and have worked for politicians in the past and have those connections. So we're going to explore some of the connections between Mayor Clark and Harvey, Jedidiah Brown and his group that he calls INA, and the courts and the justice system, and why you see a pattern of certain people getting protected and while others will get prosecuted. So, hey guys, and I have Crook with me, my star mod. Thank you, Crook. Judges are afraid of political activists for votes and political clout. Right, because remember, judges are elected. And hey, no apologies. Good evening. Hi, Ernestine. Yes, it's great I'm glad to have you guys with me. Someone said that LNC, Late Night Crew, had some announcement later tonight too. I don't know. I looked on his page. I couldn't see anything, but we'll see. Hey, Brian. Amir had an excellent panel last night. I was tempted to maybe join, but I was just like, they had enough going on, and Minion was on there, Ramona, Amir, and so I just let him talk it out. But they were a lot of good stuff up. Hi, Straight Shooter. Thank you for joining. All right. Yeah, Brian, big ups. Some pink hand waves to Ernestine. Hey, Beth. Ms. McBride is with us too. I'm so happy. So, first, oh, thanks, no apologies. You're so great at that. I should have said that last night in Amir's chat too. To encourage people to like, if you like any YouTubers broadcasts or anything really on social media, if you like, if you share, if you subscribe, remember that helps us to reach more people. It helps us in the algorithm. It helps us get the message out there. And my big thing is, yes, it's Ryan's Gay Chicago, so I talk about lots of things, but I am a big social justice person. So yeah, so thanks, no apologies. People are just saying, hey, no worries, get these channels exactly into the algorithm. So hopefully, especially for Harvey, I want to get more people. Let's make it like Dalton, where people are really following that. Crook says, Beth, hope all is well. Oh, that's sweet. No apologies is a real one. You're getting some love from Crook there. No apologies, says Beth. I hope you're doing well. So see, Beth, you're not alone. You can tell your son, all your family, you're not alone. You do have people that care about you. Let's start with looking at Christopher Clark's his fundraising. Okay, so this is if you go to illinoissunshine.org is this website here. I'll put a link in it actually, so if you want to check it out yourself. Oh, good, Beth, you're doing better today. I'm glad to hear that. So if you want to check this out yourself, and you can look up anyone on here, but this is for Christopher Clark, all right? So Citizens for Christopher J. Clark, Candidate Committee. It's interesting because it still lists the address for the building that was his law office, but is no longer owned by his family. So I don't know why it still has that address, but whatever. And we can see here, at least what he and his committee have reported, their cash on hand is approximately $67,000. Okay. Just since June 30th of this year, he's gotten almost $27,000 of contributions. So in other words, we can tell there are people giving him money. So according to the campaign, this is all self-reported, right? So I mean, doesn't mean they may have other funding that they have not reported, but this is what they've reported. So if you look at the top 25 donors, all right, by far, we have the People for Emmanuel Chris Welch, about $60,000. Okay, followed by the Antero Group, which does consulting for the city of Harvey, which unfortunately it's legal. I know, I don't think it should be, but basically this is a case of pay to play that as far as I understand, it is legal. Companies or people can donate to a politician and then immediately get hired. I don't think it should be that way, but that is how it is. South Chicago Auto Auction, which donated this August. That is the one that's right on Sibley by the train. That they've given almost $22,000. Alfred Ronan, I forget. I want to say I've looked him up in the past. I don't remember who he is, but he hasn't given here, it looks like, since 2019. Trims Trucking, Lots of Liquors, Fair Towing. Chris has donated to himself as well. AZSPE LLC. Ansel Glink, that's another one. So this is the law firm that is given $12,000. That's the law firm that the city of Harvey uses. Thaddeus Jones, Citizens for Jones. So if you combine those two, it's about $23,000 right there that Thaddeus Jones has given to Mayor Clark over the years. So that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Livewire Electrical Systems, Delaney Smith. Now she worked as a social worker, and she gave more than $10,000 to Christopher Clark. Will Davis, who was our state rep, he always just goes along with whatever Clark wants. Well, he's given more than $9,000. Friends of Frank Zuccarelli, $8,500. Alex's Butcher Shop LLC. That's that store at Wood and 159th, kitty corner from my family's old grocery store, Washlow's. $8,500. W&W Towing. I think that's the main towing company that Harvey uses. Arbor Care Pekarsky and Sons. This is a relation to Shirley Drewinski. So I think, and Pekarsky also might be hired by the city to do some work, but I'm guessing that's probably how Shirley contributes to Mayor Clark, via her cousin's company. Rosa Rambula, $5,300. That's a lot of money for one person. She is the clerk. Marcus Evans, his committee, $5,000. Sandrew Matthew, Sibley Store Fixtures, Millhouse, and Michael Moirano. What I want us to focus on is this top one here, the People for Emmanuel Chris Welch. All right, and let me catch up with comments here. We need to learn who's donating to Clark. Exactly. So that's another reason why I'm going over this again. South Chicago Auto Auction. Please follow our good friend No Apologies Needed. Yes. So go follow No Apologies as well. That got to be pay to play, right? I think it should be illegal, but I don't think it is. As far as, like I said, if the city's hiring, like let's say Ansel Glink in this instance, I do think other things though are not right. Like the gentleman, remember TK Construction? He's the same guy that owns Alex's butcher shop, and we know that he has gotten special deals on city-owned properties before. See, that's definitely paid to play there, but they hide it through the names, because he's not donating in the name of TK Construction or in his personal name. He's donating money under the grocery store that he owns under that name. No Apologies says, thank you. How many times has South Chicago Auto Auction changed their name? Did they? I don't know. I don't remember what the other names were. 10,000 is a good chunk of change, right? I wonder how many of them owe taxes. Good question. And, I bet you that if their businesses in Harvey, even if they do own taxes, if they donate it to Clark, they may not be getting the same level of scrutiny, right? So if Talani is a social worker, where is she getting that kind of money from to donate? I don't know. That's a good question. Wow. Straight Shooter is my question too. Now you know why you are getting extorted by the police and the tow yard. Right. Do you see the towing companies? Antero Group is a holistic civil engineering, urban planning, and strategic consulting firm with offices in Chicago, South Bend, Denver, and Dallas-Fort Worth. Yes. I'd like to see, yeah, maybe there is like a personal connection there too that Clark has. Maybe I should bring that up. Welch was also sued in 2010 for sexual harassment and retaliation when another woman alleged she lost her job at Proviso Township High School. Oh, thank you, Straight Shooter. Okay, I didn't realize that. In September 2023, the city highlighted Antero's group's contributions in its newsletter. Right, because they said they worked on 154th Street. I remember that. Lathrop, Public Works, with the gas service, Harvey Lofts. Members of House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch's staff have filed a lawsuit alleging he thwarted their attempts to organize a union. That's right. Yes, I remember that. That was just last year, right? Which is ironic and not very impressive, right? Considering the Democrats, the establishment, they try to say they're pro-union, but then your own employees want to form a union, and then they're accusing you of fighting it. So I'll pull that up really quickly and see what was the other? Oh, Antero Group. Let's see if I can find out anything about them. Aunt Taro. Welch has taken campaign money from individuals and interest groups that could benefit from his decision-making in Springfield, including contributions from lobbyists, businesses, and unions. That is correct. Because last time I talked about this, we actually looked at Welch's contributions, people that contributed to him, and that is very true. How do I... What pups? Go chill. The puppy's antsy. Do you want to say hi? Hello. Bonsoir. Okay, good boy. Go chill. He's getting antsy. I may have to go sit on the floor with him. That was also recent as well. His bag was heavy. So this is Antero Group. So this is the consulting firm. I just decided to go to their about. Let's see a little bit of what they... some of their folks here. Eric Niegu is the CEO. Okay. The COO is Michael Schmitz. All right. Then we have Ethan Cho. I think I want to say I've met Mr. Cho. He sounds familiar. I think I met him when he came one time. He's a project engineer. You went to Calvin in Grand Rapids. Molly Delaney. I think I've spoken with her as well. She's a planner with Antero, Masters of Urban Planning and Policy from UIC. Okay. Emily Eng is a project engineer. Colin Hedrick is office manager and marketing specialist. Michael Hempt is an engineer. Soyan Yang is a planner. Brady Lane is a project engineer. Sean Norton is a project manager. I'm just looking to see if they have any connections that we might recognize to Harvey or Mayor Clark. Ryan Peterson. Rosa Ruiz Cuadros. Julia Rumley. Okay, they don't ring a bell. Bethany Simon, planning technician. Mindy Smith, project manager. Owen Stam, senior project manager. Tallulah Chishow, I hope I said that right, staff engineer. Let's see, any connections to Harvey that we can see? I don't really notice anything. Aaron Wallace. Oh, they have a cat. 2 cats. Okay. Well, anyway, if you guys want to look into them more, that's an Antero group. I just wanted to throw that out there, okay, to see. Because let me tell you, they get paid big bucks by us taxpayers. Big bucks. Hit the like button. Thanks, guys. So that's Antero. So going back to Christopher Clark, I wanted to point out these connections here. Oops, no. Why is it showing? Come on. Come on, show up, silly. Hopefully it will show up so I can share this window. There it is. Thank you. Okay, so I've gone through this once before, so I had this prepared, but I just wanted to point out. So if we start with Chris Clark, he's the mayor of Harvey, right? His biggest donor, as you just saw, was Chris Welch, who is Speaker of the House. Chris Welch's law firm, okay, the law firm that he is associated with is Ansel Glink. Ansel Glink, that firm is the corporate counsel for Harvey. So if you remember, we also saw Ansel Glink in as one of the big donors to Mayor Clark as well. So, excuse me. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Sean T. Raines Welch is the name of the Speaker of the House, Chris Welch. That's the name of his wife. She is a judge on the Illinois Courts Commission. The Illinois Courts Commission, I'm going to bring them up for you guys too. So this is where it starts to get very interesting, okay? Remember, we're talking about the Speaker of the House's wife, Shanti Rains Welch. Illinois Courts Commission. Okay. Oh, as of 2023, they adopted a new code. Okay. So, the Illinois Courts Commission was created by the 1970 Illinois Constitution to adjudicate complaints brought by the Judicial Inquiry Board against Illinois judges alleging violations of the Code of Judicial Conduct. So the key there is that they get to adjudicate complaints, okay, against Illinois judges. And then the complainants have to be alleging violations of the Code of Judicial Conduct, which, oh, okay, and that's what this is, view the code. Okay. But that's what the Illinois Supreme Court adopted, new version. So let's see. Let's look at the commissioners. The Courts Commission has 7 members and 9 alternates. The 7 commissioners will have 1 from the Illinois Supreme Court, 2 from the Illinois Appellate Court, 2 from the Illinois Circuit Court, 2 members of the public. And then they have some alternate members as well. Okay. So we have Justice P. Scott Neville Jr., chair of the commission. He's a Supreme Court member. Then we have Justice Thomas M. Harris. He's a commissioner. He's from the appellate court. He's an appellate court member, 4th District. Justice Margaret Stanton McBride. She's a commissioner from the appellate court and an appellate court member from the 1st District. We have here Judge Shanti Rains Welch. She is a commissioner and circuit court member of the 1st District. And remember, the 1st District is that Chicago? I forget. Anyway. Now we have Judge Clarence M. Darrow. He's a commissioner and he's a circuit court member from the 4th District. Aurora Abella Austriaco, commissioner, gubernatorial member. So I guess maybe the governor nominated her. And Paula Wolf, commissioner, gubernatorial member. All right. So, I mean, imagine for the whole state of Illinois, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So my focus here is Shanti Rains Welch. So why are we focused on her? Well, let's look at her bio again just to see. Okay. So she was appointed in 2024, and then her term will be up next December 2026. No, sorry, not this December, but December of 26. She is currently assigned to the 4th Municipal District. She hears misdemeanor and criminal traffic cases as well as local adjudication matters. She ran for election in the 4th Judicial Subcircuit and assumed office on December 5th, 2022. Okay. Resident of the 4th Subcircuit area, graduate of Proviso West. Okay. Let me see. She was a zoning commissioner for the village of Hillside. So she was involved in that same area where Chris Welch is from, Maywood, Hillside. Okay, she graduated from UIC, the bachelor's in marketing. She went to John Marshall Law School. It says prior to taking judicial office, she was a partner at a well-known municipal law firm. I believe she worked for Ansel Glink before, just like her husband still does. She worked as a plaintiff's personal injury attorney, civil defense attorney. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit about her. But what I want you to notice is that she was elected in 2022, right? first time as an elected judge. Let's go take a look, for instance, at Ms. Stanton McBride. Let's see when she was first elected. She's been elected since 2006, okay? And she's been an associate judge since 87. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Miss McBride, yeah. So she began her judicial service as an associate judge in 87, was elected in 1990. So she's been elected for a while, right? Let's take a look at Justice Harris for comparison. He was elected in 2008. Let's look at Judge Darrow. Oh, he worked as a public defender. He was elected judge in 2010. So you notice most of the people on this commission, they were elected judges for a long time, right? Miss Raines Welch was only judge for 2 years before she was appointed, an elected judge for 2 years before she was appointed to this this very powerful commission. Sorry, guys, and I'm going to come back and get to the comments. I know I've been behind, but okay. So I just wanted to kind of go over that a little bit. All complaints are logged and investigated. Always send the certified return receipt to. Thank you, Straight Shooter. Antero Group does civil engineering, design, zoning. Has Clark promised them something? Meaning of places are vacant. They took it because of not paying taxes. Taxes makes you wonder what secrets. Exactly, Straight Shooter. Yes. Yeah. There's so much that we need to know because this is all supposed to be public, right? All right. So, whoop. And I'm sorry, before I open that other thing, let's take a look. What can the Illinois Courts Commission do? Okay. So when you complain about a judge or against a judge, the Judicial Inquiry Board would have to bring the complaint to the Illinois Courts Commission. They adjudicate it. So to get to the Courts Commission, you would have to have a complaint saying a judge is engaged in willful misconduct in office, persistent failure to perform his or her duties, or other conduct that is prejudicial to the administration of justice or that brings the judicial office into disrepute, or the judge is physically or mentally unable to perform his or her duties. The Courts Commission is separate and independent from the Supreme Court and the Illinois Judicial Inquiry Board. The Judicial Inquiry Board investigates grievances regarding Illinois state judges and determines whether to file a public complaint against a judge. If the Judicial Inquiry Board determines that a public complaint against a judge is warranted, the Judicial Inquiry Board will file a complaint with the Courts Commission. That's the commission that Shanti Raines Welch is on. Remember, she's the wife of the Speaker of the House, who is the largest donor to Christopher Clark, Mayor of Harvey. The Judicial Inquiry Board is the prosecutorial arm in proceedings before the Courts Commission, and the judge against whom a complaint is filed may retain his or her own counsel. The Courts Commission will hear the evidence and determine whether the allegations contained in the Judicial Inquiry Board's complaint were proven by clear and convincing evidence. If the Courts Commission finds that a judge has committed the alleged misconduct, or that a judge is physically or mentally unable to perform his or her duties, the Courts Commission may impose a sanction or discipline. In cases where the commission finds that the judge is engaged in willful misconduct in office, persistent failure to perform his or her duties, or other conduct that is prejudicial to the administration or justice that brings the judicial office into disrepute. The commission, this is what we really wanted to get to. The commission may remove the judge from office. There's not much worse that you can do to the judge, okay? I mean, besides if they were charged with a crime, I suppose. But, they can't do their job anymore. They can also suspend the judge without pay, censure the judge, or reprimand the judge. In matters where the commission finds that the judge is physically or mentally unable to perform his or her duties, the commission may suspend the judge with or without pay or retire the judge. The commission's decisions are final, which is interesting, so that they cannot be appealed to the Supreme Court, it sounds like. Okay. So that's a little bit more about that. It shows you how powerful that Illinois Courts Commission is. All right. So it should be leading. Sometimes StreamYard is slow. So we're gonna look at an article that was written about Shanti Rain's well, where they discuss on StreamYard any day now. There it goes. Whew, finally. Okay. StreamYard just acts up. It's weird. Sometimes StreamYard acts up, but I'm back. I don't know what happened. Beth says lots of stuff going back and forth with businesses, elected officials, and judges. Lots of money. You hit it the nail on the head, Beth. Exactly. All right, let me bring back up this article about Miss Rains Welch. Right, it's back. I know. Oh, StreamYard. Some of that money is corrupt money. Exactly. Exactly. There we go. Okay. Cook County judge in office for less than 2 years is named to a panel that rules on judicial misconduct. Okay. So here's Miss Rains, Shanti Rains Welch, with her husband, Emmanuel Chris Welch, who's Speaker of the House. He's also a lawyer. Less than 2 years after Cook County took office, the Illinois Supreme Court has appointed her to the Illinois Courts Commission, which hears judicial misconduct cases and can remove judges from office. Rains Welch, who's married to Illinois House Speaker Emmanuel Chris Welch from Hillside, is one of the 2 circuit judges on the commission whose authority to punish judges for wrongdoing includes being able to remove them from the bench. Chief Illinois Supreme Court Justice Mary Jane Thies won't say why Rains Welch was picked for the unpaid post, whose term runs till the end of 2026. Asked about the appointment, a Supreme Court spokesman says, oops, let me make sure it's still okay. We're not frozen, right? Can you guys see? Oop. Okay, good. The Illinois Supreme Court has authority under the Constitution to appoint 2 circuit court judges. Okay, traditional one of these positions has come from Cook County, one from downstate. Judge Lewis Nixon held the county spot and was due to have his 3-year term end on December 31st, 2023. Due to an ongoing courts commission matter, his term was extended past that date. On July 26, 2024, Shanti Rains Welch was appointed to Judge Nixon's seat, but a lot more experience, right? So it's like, well, okay, why is someone who's only been elected judge for 2 years put on such a high commission? Have something to do with the fact that her husband is Speaker of the House, right? I mean, of course, people are going to ask that. Nick, actually, I don't know if Lewis. I'm assuming maybe it was a man, Lewis Nixon. That was who Shanti Rains Welch was replacing. Nixon, a former federal prosecutor. He had been a Cook County judge since 2001, and I guess much longer time, being an elected judge than Miss Rains Welch. Did not know of this until after her appointment by the Supreme Court. How are you going to be Speaker of the House and be very high up and prominent within the you're just not gonna know until after it's done that your wife was, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm back. Gosh, I don't know what. I guess StreamYard really just does not like the Sun Times website or something. It does not like cooperating. I apologize. Hey, Ramona. Beth says they're officials who play an illegal chess game of moving money back and forth. Right, exactly. The crazy thing is that, if we were to try to do this, they would throw us in jail immediately. Isn't that the crazy thing? But because they're in positions of authority, I guess it's okay for them to do, and they have no consequences, which I disagree with. Hugs, Ramona. Hi, Beth. Hi, Dila. Straight Shooter says, yes, Beth. And it's not low money either. It's big chunks. Exactly. Big, huge chunks of money. Yeah, and sorry, we're back. For some reason, I don't know. I guess it's just StreamYard does not like the Sun Times website. I do want to finish the article though. Let me try this. All right, I'm just refreshing this article. Let's see if we can get the website to cooperate here. And Ramona says, I got to support people. Yay. Straight True has a great question. How can an alderwoman give over $10,000 considering what she is paid? Yes, excellent question. Hello, Beth. Hope all's well with ya. Again, Crooks wishing you well. That's nice. Try this one more time. Hey, French. Bonsoir. I want to just get through this article about Miss Rains Welch. Okay, it's up there again. Let's hope it doesn't freeze. For some reason, the Sun Times site is not having it tonight. Let me see. The commission hears a wide range of cases involving accusations of judicial misconduct. Earlier this year, this is in 2024, it booted Robert Adrian, a judge in Western Illinois who made national news for reversing the sexual assault conviction of an 18-year-old man he'd earlier found guilty of raping a 16-year-old girl. The commission kicked Adrian off the bench. Now remember, that's the key thing. This commission, the Illinois Courts Commission, has the power to kick judges off the bench, to fire them. They said he had engaged in multiple instances of misconduct. He abused his position of power to indulge his own sense of justice while circumventing the law. He lied under oath on multiple occasions, and he has failed to acknowledge his misconduct. Rains Welch, one of about 400 Cook County judges, is assigned to the Maywood Regional Courthouse. She hears misdemeanor and criminal traffic cases. So again, out of about 400 Cook County judges, what are the odds that the wife of the Speaker of the House just happened to be appointed with only 2 years of elected judge experience to this powerful commission? That's what we're having a hard time believing, right? With campaign help from her husband and from a Berwyn lawyer who used to raise campaign money for former Speaker Michael J. Madigan. Oh, we know him. He was the one that was in the federal corruption trial. She won election in 2022 from a judicial district that stretches from the northwest suburbs to the southwest suburbs. That was after she was rated qualified by, let me see, the Chicago Bar and the Chicago Council, but she had unfavorable ratings from the Illinois State Bar Association, which rated her not recommended, and the Hispanic Lawyers Association of Illinois had rated her not qualified, citing a lack of knowledge, lack of trial experience, and lack of reliability. So it's interesting. And look, you can just tell, look at the related headlines here. Let me make sure this isn't freezing up on me. Okay, good. Look at the related headlines. Look, would-be county judge's description of her bar associate rating. House Speaker Chris Welch aiming to get a relative elected, as his predecessor Michael Madigan did. Speakers wife returns out-of-state contribution to her judicial campaign. Illinois State Bar rates Sean T. Rains Welch not qualified for judge. So, there are concerns about her candidacy for judge in general. Let's go back to I want to go back to our other screen. Again, let's remind everybody how these people are connected. Crook says, French, what up? Bro Hammer. Hi, French Wrench. Ramona. Thank you, Crook County Doctor. I'm learning all my YouTube family. Oh, that's good, Ramona. Yes. Yeah, you did a great job last night. You shared. You were, you just shared from your heart. Crook County. Yes, he's a doctor now. He got one of those doctorates that these politicians have, and you're like, oh, what kind of doctor is he or she? So again, look at this organizational chart, all right? So you start with Chris Clark, who's mayor of Harvey. His biggest donor is Chris Welch, who's Speaker of the House. Chris Welch's law firm, Ansel Glink, is also the lawyer, the corporate counsel for the city of Harvey. Sean T. Rains Welch, the Speaker's wife, was appointed, as we just read, in sort of very uncommon circumstances. After only serving as a public judge for 2 years, she was appointed a judge for the Illinois Courts Commission, who can fire any judge in Illinois. Where does this bring us? Jedidiah Brown. He is the latest puppet / associate / enforcer for Christopher Clark and Harvey, right? So some people I know were disappointed in general. They were disappointed in me. With the related to the stalking no contact orders, when I had 2 judges basically rule against me. Well, I would propose, and many other people propose, that you not take it personally against me. I really think I did a great job. The one judge didn't even let me present properly the evidence that I had for the hearing, showing that Jed had violated the order and asking for consequences. And then in the other case, that was Judge Gump. In the other case, Judge Corbin at Markham, didn't, was more interested in making her ruling and sort of yelling and scolding us, especially me. I mean, Jed too, but especially me. And then what's interesting is they both said it's political. And I didn't push that. Even Jed didn't push that narrative, I wouldn't say. So why would both judges say it's political and try to rush us out, where I couldn't even make my arguments to the male judge about how Jed had violated my order so many times? That's not my fault. I prepared very well. I think I did great. Not perfect by any means, right? No one is, but they were in a rush, you guys. The judges were in a rush. Why? Look at the document on the screen. Can you make the connections there? So make the connections. Jedidiah Brown, we've seen many times. He's been, we had the footage of him where he was actually driving around Harvey together with Mayor Clark, looking for properties, I guess, that he could invest in, even though Clark ignores everybody else that tries to invest with the city, right? We saw him after the last city council meeting, where everyone else had to leave the building, but Jedidiah and Raheem, his bodyguard, they could stay, and they had a little powwow after the meeting with Clark and his people. And so who knows what they were talking about? And then he had a police escort just for him to stay in the parking lot, just for Jed. So this person, Jedidiah Brown, is working with and for Christopher Clark, mayor of Harvey. Okay. His biggest donor, again, is Chris Welch, Speaker of the House, who also has a law firm called Ansel Glink, who's also the corporate counsel for Harvey. His wife, Sean T. Rains Welch, the Speaker's wife, is on the commission that can fire any judge in Illinois. Again, listen to this. So Jed, through all of this working with Clark and for Clark and associating with Clark and strategizing with Clark, Jed is connected to the woman that in part can fire any judge in Illinois. How can that not impact someone's ruling? How can that not impact whether justice is done? So that's just one aspect. But I invite you guys, please, researchers, people that love to look into this stuff, please help us research it. Look into this. There are many more connections than this. This is just one that I noticed that was, fairly easy to find. Okay. Crook said you did great yesterday, Ramona. Thank you. Yes, Beth, I got my doctorate out of a Cracker Jack box. Interesting. Rosa Rambula, 300 less for many years, and all of a sudden pops out over 4K to Clark. Right. Yep. Pay to play, baby. It's been a few years, but a judge at Markham Courthouse had many complaints. People supported another candidate, then he lost an election. So that is an effective way to get bad judges out. Yes, right. And that's something that we, should consider is complaining against these judges to say, why are you protecting? Like, we get it, like, in a way, right? I said, I just pointed out one little line of connections where you could understand why judges would see Jedidiah and they would panic and they would be afraid of him and want to get him out of their courtroom as soon as possible, right? No, I'm not saying they're afraid of him personally necessarily, although Jed has attacked people, so I mean, I can't say that they're not, but it's more of, it's interesting that both judges in my cases just rushed everything, did not allow me to present my my cases and my evidence and etc. properly, and then they both made a big deal out of, like, this is political and I'm not getting involved and I don't want to get involved, and if you have problems, like the first Judge Gump, he said, well, you can just file criminal charges. Again, that's saying, get this out of my court. I don't want to have anything to do with Jedidiah and this political stuff. Because, like I said, I don't think neither Jed nor I really emphasize political, and they made a big deal out of it. So I think we should listen to the judges. It came out of their own mouths. Curly Jag never got a GED. Oh, Crook County, Dr. Beth has a good ring. If you all click on the link above, it takes you to his campaign donators. Click on their names and show what and who they donated. Research them from there. Right, exactly, Straight Shooter. Right, exactly. So you can check them all out. Street Gang Connection? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying the judges said it out of their own mouths. And those of you that watched the Zooms when I was in court live, I mean, you heard it. They said, well, this is political. And then they tried to say other things, like they're like, oh, you and Jed just need to, it's personal. We don't want to get involved because you just need to sit down and talk it out. And Judge Gump even tried to flatter both of us. And he was like, oh, it's obvious you're both community activists and you're both so well-spoken, and I don't want to get involved. But why? Your job, literally, is sitting in that black robe on that platform. You get paid. By the way, we looked up their salaries. Both those judges make about $250,000. $250,000, more than $225,000 per year. So, cha-ching, they get paid plenty of our tax money to do their job. Why can't you rule on the law? And it's interesting because the Judge Gump even said when I came to him with the motion for rule to show cause, that was what I was instructed, by a lawyer and other counsel and everything. They said, yeah, you just go before the judge, and you say, look, this guy violated my stalking no contact order this many times and this many ways. You present your evidence at your hearing, and then the judge will find them in contempt. That's what you're requesting. And it's a common thing. But the judge even said, he was like, oh no, I don't do anything with enforcement. I don't do anything with enforcement. No, that's okay. You're just gonna have to bring a criminal charge. And he was very taken aback by like, oh, all those people are in the Zoom. I've never seen that. And then when I explained to him, I said, yes, Judge, I'm asking for the court's help because even when I went to Harvey Police, they work for Clark just like Jed does, and they on three separate occasions they refused to arrest him for violating my order. And I said, that's not the first time. The police arrested me, wrongly arrested me, wrongly arrested my alderwoman 4 times, and I don't know why for the life of me freaking stop. The people were like, don't bring up, why did you bring up Colby? Because it shows that the Harvey police are corrupt. That's why we're asking for the court and for higher authorities to get involved, because Harvey police don't protect us. They are part of the ones that are harassing us. In many ways, they're no better than a street gang. So maybe there's your street gang connection, French. The judges I watched in person were very biased. Thank you, Beth, because you were there in person. I felt that too. And Beth, didn't you feel like the whole thing was rushed? I felt like it was just very, very, very rushed. Like it was like, oh, compared to how other people, I saw how the judges treated other people. So it was very, at the least very suspicious. So when I told Judge Gump that, and remember, he was supposed to hear all my evidence about how Jed had violated the order, and then hold him in contempt of court. Like that's a very basic legal thing to do. It's not up to your personal feelings or whether you feel it's political or whether you feel that we're both well-spoken or whether you feel that we're both community activists or whatever you feel. Your job is not to follow your feelings. Your job is to follow the freaking law. Okay. And he rushed it, did not let me present all of my evidence. And when I was telling him about like how the police not only did not arrest Jedidiah for the violations 3 times, but how they had arrested me to intimidate me and had arrested my alderwoman to intimidate me 4 times, he stopped and he turned to his like the clerk or something and he was like, I don't know if you remember this, Beth, but he was like, oh, wow, I've never heard of that happening before. Have you? Like he was very dramatic about it and he paused and like sat back and I remember because at first I thought, oh, it's a good thing. He sees how serious it is. But then looking back and seeing how he ruled, I honestly, you have to ask, are they afraid of people like Jedidiah, criminals like Jedidiah who have political connections? Now remember, not just Chris Clark, Jedidiah. We're told, like if you watched the show last night that Amir had, that Jedidiah has done work for Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago, and for other politicians as well. So that's the question. Are they afraid of Jedidiah and people like him because of their political connections? I mean, I can sympathize and empathize to a certain extent, but at the same time, dude, you guys are making $250,000 a year. And you can't rule according to the law. You're ruling according to your emotions or because you're afraid. Beth says you're correct. They rushed things. Yes, he did look at his clerk like, you remember that, Beth? I remember because I was like, at first I was encouraged because I was like, oh, good. He sees how serious this is. Like the police not only do not respond when I say hello, like on video, like Harvey police, are you going to arrest this man? Like I have 3 police reports. I've asked you, 3 times now. Are you going to arrest him for violating the law? This is not a gray area. Okay. The law is very specific. It doesn't say, oh, the police officer feels like it and feels the warm fuzzies that day and wants to do their job or like, whatever. No, like it's their job to enforce the law. It's very black and white. And then explain, how I was arrested, how Colby had gotten arrested, just because we asked questions about where the money's going. He really seemed taken aback. So I think, given the fact of seeing how they acted and that they both made a big deal out of saying this is political and I don't want to get involved, I think that's very telling. And it's very concerning. So we're definitely going to look at filing some complaints and taking actions. I don't want you guys to think that we just gave up because we didn't, and definitely don't want you to think that Jedidiah and his side won. That's not true, because if you intimidate the justice system, which I gave you one very clear example of how that could be happening, that's not winning. That's cheating. That's cheating. That's the referee knowing that if they don't give you that extra point, you're going to fire them at their day job. Now, is that how you win a game? No, that's not fair. That is cheating. To them, everyone's wasting their time because Clark and his goons speak the truth. I don't know, straight shooter. I don't know that they believe Clark. I could be. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking in their head. I'm just trying to say, we know to protect their job, they're not going to come on public, when it's on record and say, I just want to get this person Jed out of my courtroom because I don't care if he murdered someone in your family. I don't want to rule against him because I could lose my job and or he could send his crazies after me. Okay. So, they're not going to say that. So you have to listen and kind of, infer and read between the lines. And so that's why I'm saying when they're telling you these things and saying this is political, and then you're like, what? Well, okay, but that wasn't the core of my case. Like the violations of the order happen. And the stalking and the cyberbullying and everything else have happened. So why are they saying it's political? There's got to be a reason. Beth says, yes, Ryan. Clark was a lawyer. There's still Clark's friend, the judge and the lawyer. Could be. Maybe Clark has some connections that way too. Yeah. Clark has called in some favors, but legally he can't as a mayor. Very true. Right. He could have called Markham or called some of the judges and said, hey, look, I'll do something good for you. Or maybe I won't. I'll get someone after you. I'll turn Jed on you if you don't rule in his favor. Because we all know. That's why I was like, guys, don't be mad at me. Don't shoot the guy on the front line in the back. How is that going to help? That's not going to help anything. I think I did a fantastic job, of presenting. But when they cut you off and don't even let you present your whole case because they're in such a rush, that is very telling. That says someone doesn't want to hear the case because they've already decided in their head, I don't want to have anything to do with this Jedidiah guy. He's trouble. If I rule against him, it's not going to go well for me, my family, and my career. And that's not how justice should be. That's called cheating. My observation is that the judges worked to close the case. Thank you. That's what I thought too, Beth, right? It's like, let's wrap this up, get this out of my courtroom, right? Because remember how the judge, Gump, when we went to the Pullman station, he was like, well, yeah, I don't do enforcement though. And I'm like, that was like what lawyers and all my other counsel advised me to do. They said, no, that is literally his job. He's supposed to hear my motion about how Jed's violated my order and find him in contempt and give consequences. And he just totally dismissed it. It's like a woman coming to court, at the proper time and saying, my husband's been beating me, or something. Can you give me an order? And the judge is like, oh, no, that's not my job. Sorry. And, this is political. Could you imagine if the judge would say that to a woman being beaten by her husband? Yeah, this is political. You guys both seem like nice people. Why don't you just kind of sit down and work it out? This is political. I don't really want to have anything to do with it. This is childish, and then the woman's there with like a black eye and everything. And, what is it going to take? I've already been attacked and I get cyberbullied and harassed and threatened and I've been doxxed. You know what I mean? It's like, are they going to wait till someone has a bullet in their head? It doesn't make sense unless they're afraid, I think. Clark is probably an NIA cult member. Who knows? Yes, Beth. I think Jezebel and guys will fade away. The quicker you closed a case, the quicker you can hit a ball on the golf course. That too. Right. I mean, so look into that. Look into Clark's donors. Look into the political connections there. We're not going to give up. And certainly, like I said, it's not because just of one person, right? I'm not saying it's Jedidiah they're afraid of per se, but it's when Jed's associated with other people, like the speaker's wife, that has the authority to fire judges, and maybe Clark, who might have other legal connections, things like that. And that's not right? That's not justice. Like I said, that's cheating, and I don't like cheaters. The judge at 111th Street tried to act nice, but he talked in circles. Thank you, Beth. I totally agree. 100%. So that's about it though, as far as those connections. Let me see someone. Oh, okay. So I hope that kind of, shows that, we grow up, right? And I think we tend to think that, oh, oops, hold on. Did I send him a thing? We tend to think that, yes, truth, justice, and the American way, Superman. We're taught, of this is how the law works. Maybe we're taught this is how the law should work, right? Or like when you take government in school, things like that. But then you get older and you notice things, and you're like, oh, wait, so not everybody plays by the rules. So it doesn't matter if you have the rules, if people don't play according to the rules, and if they break the rules, then I mean, why do we think Cook County has so much corruption, right? If people weren't able to influence judges, we probably would not have nearly as much political corruption as we do. So anyway, also the judge on 111th Street did not give your two witnesses the opportunity to speak. Yes, thank you, Beth. So not only did the judge rush things, but he said, "Oh, do you have witnesses?" I said, "Yes." Remember, I have my whole stack of paper showing with all of the exhibits that I meticulously prepared, showing that Jed very clearly violated my order, and he was due to be held in contempt of court for that. Not only did the judge dismiss that, he let me share a little bit, but it was like a very, very small portion. But he said, "Okay, you have two witnesses. They have to sit in the back room." And I was like, "Okay." So Vivian and Amir, my two witnesses, were sitting back there the whole damn time. And then the judge is basically like, it's political. I don't want to get involved. You're two nice people. You're well spoken, blah, blah, blah. You can work out. Okay. Oh, it's just done. And they never even they were sitting in the back room the whole time. So they didn't even get to hear what was going on. And he didn't let me call that. Like, what was the purpose of putting them in a room to be isolated when we weren't even going to let me call my witnesses? So, and of course, then Jed the whole time was doing his horrible thing where he just talks over people and, bullies them. And the judge allowed that too. So again, to me, that says they're afraid and they're not doing their job right. Lucky Pierre and Chris Clark Hummingbirds. Crook County. Assassin. Yep, Crook County, yep. Hey, French. Hayes, Illinois State assassin. Yeah, so it's nothing too new or crazy, right? But anyway, we're gonna keep working on that. So if anybody who does want to help file complaints with the judges, I'm going to be looking into that process. Actually, let me share that really quickly right now. Some of that. Hold on one second. Let's take a look, shall we? Oh, Assassin did a good video. I missed it. I'm sorry, guys. There are so many great videos out there, and I just don't have the time between work and Harvey stuff, and community advocacy stuff. I don't have the time to keep up and watch. So I do apologize. I know there's some great videos out there. All right. Request for investigation process. Any person may file a request for investigation with the Judicial Inquiry Board. It must be in writing, must state facts that substantiate any alleged misconduct or incapacity. In this case, I don't think it would be incapacity, but misconduct, possibly, yes. When a request for investigation is made against the judge, okay. So remember, this starts with the Judicial Inquiry Board. This is not the one that the speaker's wife is on. So they can either close the request because allegations did not constitute incapacity and or misconduct under the law and standards of judicial conduct in Illinois. Most often, these requests for investigation concern a losing litigant's subjective perception that justice was not obtained in his or her cause. By closing the request for investigation, the board does not pass judgment on the merits of the case. This is the sole responsibility of the appellate court. So in other words, you can still appeal. I could still appeal if I want. A letter is sent to the complainant informing him or her that the request for investigation has been closed. However, it would still be on file, and I think that that's important. In other words, they're saying, you can't complain because they didn't rule in your favor, right? It has to be based on that they violated the judicial code of conduct, or there was some sort of misconduct, something that they violated in the law. Which, I mean, I think that there's definitely a case for that. Certified return receipt, you have proof they received it, right? Or I would just, send it via email if they accepted it that way. They could investigate it. An investigation may entail writing a letter to the judge to request their explanation. Okay, interviewing the complainants, witnesses, or monitoring courtrooms. Okay. Then appear before the board. They may require the judge to appear before the board to respond to questions regarding allegations of misconduct and or incapacity. In this instance, the judge is served with written notice setting forth the allegations against him or her. After the investigation is complete, it says they will either close the request because of insufficient cause to take further action, close the request but monitor the judge's courtroom, close the request and issue the judge a private letter of admonishment or caution. A private letter? Oh, shouldn't the public know? In those cases, the complainant also gets a letter saying what happened. They could require the judge to appear before the board. Okay. Where the judge appears, they may close the request but monitor the judge's courtroom, close the request and send the judge a private letter. Or they may defer termination of the investigation for a period not to exceed 2 years for observation and review of the judge's conduct. Okay. They could also file formal charges against the judge with the Illinois Courts Commission. That goes to the board. That's the board that the speaker's wife is on. If the board does file a complaint with the Courts Commission, the board serves as prosecutor in the proceedings before the commission. If the commission sustains the board's complaint, then I think that means the commission can remove the judge from office, suspend without pay, censure, reprimand, or that has to do with someone who's physically or mentally unable. Okay. The board has only limited authority to correct perceived shortcomings in the administration of justice. It cannot intervene in ongoing litigation, have a judge removed from a case, review judicial decisions, take action against judges for being too hard or too soft in sentencing, or for setting bond too high or too low. The board has no jurisdiction to investigate allegations of misconduct and or incapacity against retired judges, lawyers, police officers, court personnel, administrative law judges, federal judges, arbitrators, hearing officers, or anyone other than active judges of the state of Illinois. Okay, interesting. I think those would be the judges that I had. Like most other states, okay, the initial investigation is confidential. Okay. Okay. So basically the board won't discuss the investigation. It says that, many grievances that don't result in charges filed with the Courts Commission are nonetheless helpful in the improvement of the judicial system. Sometimes the judge under investigation will retire or resign prior to a complaint being filed with the Courts Commission. Okay. A complaint of a single instance of alleged judicial impropriety standing alone may not be sufficient to publicly charge a judge before the Courts Commission, but subsequent complaints against the same judge may ultimately call for board action. Okay. And then impairment and incapacity don't apply. So what do you do? I'm like, well, is there a form? Unless you just write up your own. They have subpoena power. Okay, that doesn't really say too much. I'm like, is there a form, you guys? Here, how about frequently asked questions? Let's see what this says. And let me catch up here. What were you guys saying? Straight Shooter says you can also request a copy of the court reporter's transcript to verify things too. I did check into that. Yeah. Surprisingly, I asked for an estimate of one and it was like $150. I was like, damn. I've known of judges that got fired because they acted inappropriately at a person, drunk, inappropriate, touching themselves under the bench, crazy reasons. Oh, wow. Straight Shooter. That's crazy. And good looking French. Oh, and you gave the live long and prosper. I can do that. Oh, look at this. Should I delay my appeal until the investigation of judicial misconduct is disposed of? No, you must continue with your court proceedings to correct any judicial errors you believe were committed. The filing of a complaint is not a substitute for the appellate process. So, yeah, you see how that it's separate. Like, this is just for the evaluating, like, did the judge do something improper or, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What was the other one that I thought was, how do I file a complaint? Request a complaint form by contacting the board at 555 West Monroe. You can also download from their site. Okay. It says answer all questions and mail it or fax it. Or you may write a letter describing the claimed misconduct or physical mental disability. It tells you what's to give, the case number. Okay. Oh, okay, but they don't accept it on electronic format. But at least you can fax it. Okay, that's cool. Because there's faxing services online. Oh, this is interesting too. If you guys want to complain against any of these judges, the board does accept anonymous complaints. Like if someone was afraid of mentioning their name. Oh, okay. Huh. Good to know. And then it says, again, it could be mailed or faxed. And let's see what their form. Okay, but where's the actual form? Oh, maybe that was over here. Hold on. Download materials, maybe? Oh, that was the guy, I think, from the article, right? Judge Ronald Dubert. Request for investigation against a judge. Okay, let's see. But the nice thing is it says you can write your own letter as long as you include certain information. It doesn't have to be on their form. But I think this is good for all of us to know because, again, we cannot assume. I know how we were all taught growing up, and I was too. That doesn't, that the justice system is this awesome. But it's important to be able to hold people accountable if we cannot follow the law. Yeah, 150, that's insane. Right. Can you believe that? Like around 150 for a court transcript? I'm like, what the hell do they think we're made of? Money? Brian, what is the name of the judge at Harvey Court that not allowed you to attend as a witness for Amir? So in that case, I don't know if we can complain to, because he says he's a retired judge. I'm not sure, but that's okay because we're going to work on that too. I believe the judge that was there, we could still, I think he's a retired judge, but we could still complain to the Bar Association as well. And we're not, yeah, we're going to look into him too. But that was Harvey Municipal Court, so it's a little different. That's the law. You could fill your grievances in anonymously. Yeah, I think by anonymous, they are going to treat it like in a children's case. Like, I don't know. What do you mean by that, French? And then we're going to look at, let's look at the actual form that they give. So the nice thing is they say you do not have to use this form, but this is their form. Again, they can't change the judge's ruling, decision, or judgment. That's what the appeals are for. They cannot investigate against retired Illinois state court judges, attorneys, court personnel, police officers, federal judges, administrative law judges. I think the guy at Harvey Court would probably be considered like an administrative law judge. I'm not sure, but that's all right. We will look into that, Ramona. Very good question. Because you're correct. He barred me from even entering, which is ridiculous. You should also know if you have a court case that's now being heard by a judge, continue to take whatever action is available to you within the court system to correct any judicial errors you believe are committed in your case. Your request for investigation is separate from your court case. Yeah, that's good to know. It's not a substitute for appeal. Got it. And I may consider an appeal, and/or I could also try to what do you call a petition for a motion to reinstate the order with new evidence. I mean, I'm sure there's different things you can do, you know. Okay, so you list when and where did this happen? Okay. Witnesses, okay. List and send a copy of those court documents which support your claim that the judge is engaged in judicial misconduct. Kindly indicate the specific information contained in your documents that relates to and supports your claim. Keep a copy, okay. Specifically describe the factual details concerning your claim that the judge engaged in judicial misconduct. Okay. Good to know. So, and the nice thing is they said you're not even required to use that. So, are you French? You're trying to say they might not take it as seriously? I think that's what you meant. You're saying, right? Probably. Good. So that is that. I think that should cover just about everything. I think that should cover just about everything. Yeah, and we said what else? You know, you can submit complaints about judges. You can appeal. You can do different things. So your name's going to be in the paper, but covered in black, like. Oh, I don't know. No, for anonymous complaints, I don't know I think they're just saying you can just write something up and just, just like leave it with them. And oublie ça. Forget it. Okay, that's fine. And then my next announcement is that I know I talked to you guys before. Hold on. I just have to step outside for a second because it is hot. Or I feel like I felt a little hot. Whew. Okay. Yeah, much better out here. Okay, so I know I had announced previously that I was considering running for mayor, and then that was before Colby announced that she was going to run. I think there are probably a few other people that will be announcing that they're interested in running for mayor. I would expect that, because remember, it's not until 2027. The mayor's race is not until 2027, so we still have a little bit of time. But I think, at least in the current climate, I think actually it would, since Colby, because at first Colby wasn't, she was not. We had asked her a few times, but she said she wasn't going to run for mayor. I was assuming she would probably run again for her, for the second ward position. But since she announced she's running for mayor, I think I will run for the second ward position. And I'm really encouraging anybody and everybody. I've already had a few people contact me saying they either wanted to run for alderman or clerk or treasurer or mayor. But remember, we have a primary system in Harvey now. We did not have that when Mayor Kellogg, when he was running his 4 times. So I say the more, the merrier. So how it works in Harvey is that, sorry, Beth says sometimes grievances should be filed anonymously. Yeah, and that's fine too. Exactly. People can do that. Ran for alderman, second ward. So yeah, so if since Colby's running for mayor, the second ward position will be open. So I feel like that would be, probably the best thing for me to run for right now. I mean, I would love to be mayor, and that I feel like I have a lot to offer. I have tons of real estate connections and investors, and just, I like to do things the right way, and I want to see Harvey thrive, and I want to see Harvey be successful for the people that live in Harvey, and to have people come back that used to be in Harvey, and their family members can come back to Harvey instead of seeing the pattern of younger people, especially, like, moving away, right? We want to reverse that trend. We want to get businesses and people to come back, and we want to make sure we want to bring forth change that benefits people in Harvey, which is the opposite of what Clark and the 4 Alder Yes-men have been doing. All the changes that they have been bringing, like the new rental building on 154th and Broadway, or the horrible displacement of the families on Myrtle Avenue. You'll notice all the changes that they bring, it's about forcing out people that live here currently, or businesses that are here currently, like with extorting the businesses about the property taxes. And it's about bringing in people from out of town who can give money and provide benefit to the politicians, right? So that is what we don't want. We want the opposite. We want to do things from the ground up. We want to get these buildings fixed up. We want to help people get grants, get money, get affordable ways for their own homes, and to stay here. We don't want people to be scared away or to be pushed out. And that's what we've been experiencing, for years, but especially the past 6 years with Clark. So that's the opposite of what we want. So I think going for second ward would probably be the best for right now. Like I said, even though I would love to be mayor, and I'd love to make sure that people get treated fairly. That is my passion. Like, I cannot stand favoritism, and I don't like when people aren't treated fairly. And Harvey just deserves better. God, my family has seen over the 100+ years that we've been here, we've seen so many wonderful things in Harvey, and we want to bring that back. So if you are considering running at all, some of you I've spoken to, hint, hint, some of you may even be watching or listening right now. You might be in the bushes, or you may not even know that you're there, but please, my advice is make sure you're independent. Don't try to owe Napoleon. Don't try to owe, Thaddeus Jones, or, I don't know, the Republican Party if you're running for the Republicans. my advice is try to be as independent as possible, right? Because you want to be an independent voice. We need independent voices in Harvey. We don't need or want leaders that are going to come in and be beholden to someone else, right? Like if you notice right now, like the board in Dalton and the board of the township, when as residents, as we've been bringing up critiques of things we're seeing that, excuse me, that things we don't like, do you notice how quiet that the boards are overall? I'm not saying that they're not doing some good things, but there's a lot of things that are going on the Dalton board and on the township board that I don't think are transparent, that I don't think are helpful. And you hear a lot of people that formerly were very outspoken and now they're quiet. So to me, I would never want to be, I'd rather be an outsider and not be elected in that case, right? So if you're considering running, please, join me and join the pool of people. But we need good, independent people, don't be bought by someone. And what was I going to say? Hold on one second. Good independent people. Ideally, you can finance yourself. You don't have to spend a ton of money. We can do door walking together. That's what it's all about. I know a lot of people are excited for Colby's candidacy. I said I've talked to some other people, but I don't want to say anything because I'll let them make their announcements when they want to make it, as far as whatever they want to run for. But with this primary system, truly, I believe the more the merrier. The more the merrier. For each city position in 2027, if we get a minimum of 4, it triggers the primary. So let's say clerk, for instance, okay? If we get 4 people running for clerk, it triggers the primary. If it's more than 4, it doesn't change, right? It's still the primary. But if it's less than 4, if it's 3, there is no primary. So there's only one election. And that's when, in the past, this is what Eric Kellogg would do, they would pay people or get people to run to split the vote. So let's say if it were, 2 main people running, they would make sure at least one other or others would run to split the vote. So then usually the incumbent would win. With this new primary system, as long as we have a minimum of 4, the top 2 go to the general election. Okay. But only if we have a minimum of 4. So that's why in my view, hey, people can be free to disagree with me, but I think the more the merrier. So this is different. Most towns do not have this sort of system. This was actually voted in via referendum by Harvey voters, largely in response to how every election, after his first term, people saw how horrible Eric Kellogg was as mayor and wanted to get him out, but he and his supporters would always just flood the ballot with so many other options that it would take votes away from any serious challenger and split the vote, and then he would get in again. So I think we should use this. We have this as a law now. It is our law. We have this primary system. So let's see. You'd be a great alderman, right? Thanks. Thank you, Beth. Congratulations. Thank you. No apologies. We need some more candidates for the 6th ward. No apologies. We really do up there because it looks horrible. That's Tyrone's ward. You have to reach the voter. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Bringing art districts to Harvey. Yeah. I think so. I think we could have one downtown. The downtown has so much potential. I'm happy for you. Straight shooter says don't let any person buy you to anyone who runs. Absolutely straight shooter. Right. That's what I'm saying. And it's not even I'm not even saying that, it might be your great auntie Fufu might have $1 million. Like, here, I just want to give you this money. It doesn't always mean that backers are bad, remember? But I don't care what people say. You never get, especially if you're talking if you have one main big backer, nothing comes for free. There's always strings attached, and I know that because I've talked to politicians and I said, I might vote for you, but I'm concerned about who you're associated with and who you're taking funding for. Oh, no, I'm independent. And they get elected and then you never hear anything from them. They only do or say what their donor wanted them to do. And that's what I don't want. Oh, I got rid of her French, but yeah. You'd be a good alternate. Thanks, Ramona. Thank you. Yeah, I got rid of her. Damn. The Zoom. What about the Zoom? He was scared when the judge asked for the cam. I'm scared when the judge asked. Which cam? I don't. What do you mean, French? History and art go well together. Yes. Ryan said you're great anti foo foo. Right. Right. Well, right. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Oh, Minion. Hey, Minion. Minion, you actually showed your face for real a little bit last night. That was so refreshing. I prefer to see a face. I know you like your avatars, but I like a face. Hey, Minion. Hi, Minion. Yeah, you guys had a nice panel last night, Minion. I was tempted to join in, but I was working on other stuff, and you guys had so much going anyway. Jedi against Viv. The judge asked for the cam. Oh, I don't remember that. Because this last time Jed didn't show up for Vivian's trial. Okay, so that was like the first time? That must have been the first one. Good memory, French? I don't remember that. Yeah, I don't understand French. Face cam? This past week. With Vivian? Oh, yeah, but remember, Jed didn't show up to Vivian's hearing. French, remember? Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying, Crook. Yes. Everybody had to show their webcam on. Right, exactly. Yeah, versus, well, you notice they didn't require that for mine. You know, I told Vivian too. I'm like, she was lucky that that judge was I think was nice. Like she could have just dismissed the case with prejudice, but like no, you have to file all over again or whatever. You know what I mean? That means, but she was nice because you just never know what these judges are gonna do. So. And hey, Butter, they asked for the observer. Yeah, to show themselves, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, as much as I love being in my yard and it's so pretty and I have my yard lights on, I'm gonna go back inside because mosquitoes. It's getting cooler, you guys, but the mosquitoes are still out. Oh, the skeeters are still out. They're starting to make things difficult in court. Yes, but we're not going to give up. I need the encouragement, but yeah. So I think for right now, that's the best thing. I think for me and for Harvey is to go for second ward alderman, especially since Colby will be vacating that position. So my goal is just to do what I always do. Talk to people and figure out how people are doing, what kind of help people need, how we can get it to them, and how we can give people a voice and have and have make a better Harvey. Beth, look, Henyard ran away. It's a good thing, Beth. Look, Henyard ran away after that. Oh, I don't know. Je comprends pas. François, je comprends pas ce que tu dis. Je l'ai supprimé. Has Vivian refueled yet? Refilled. I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure she's working on stuff. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes, yeah. Oh, thank you, Butter. Yes, you said you wanted to help. Thank you. Let me know. Yeah. Okay, so that's really it for me. I'll be coming out, with more information about that. But again, I really, really, really want to encourage people, inside and outside of Harvey, but especially if you're a Harvey resident, if you are honest, if you don't mind taking criticism, and having people say mean things about you, if you, have the time, to attend, at least a few meetings a month, you know, if you are not tied to one particular big backer, consider running for something. Talk to me, talk to someone else, or to others. You know what I mean? I say the more the merrier. So we'll have more streams about this. But again, just to clarify, great stream. Thank you, Beth. You see something, smoke something? What's that? That sounds like something that Critical smoker would say. So again, I'm going to clarify, just in case you guys missed it, but how Harvey does it. So four or more candidates for each position for a city position trigger a primary. All right, so I put it in writing too. So if you guys forget, or if you want to come back to it or whatever, but please, especially if you're a Harvey resident, explain that to people. This is how it works, okay? How much does it cost? A registration for the next election? I don't think we have to pay. It's just more of like you have to get your signatures to get on the ballot. You got to get your petition signatures. You got to get your advertisements, things like that. Good to see everyone here. I wish everyone a great weekend. Stay safe, Crook County. Yes, thank you, Crook. Yeah. Another reason why I think this is important is the last mayoral election. I think they knocked Keith Price off the ballot. Something happened, but anyway, there should have been 4. I think at least 4 for the mayoral seat, but there ended up only being 3. It was Clark, McCaskill, and Marshawn Tolbert. I think that Clark got Tolbert to run to split the vote. Now, since there weren't 4, it wasn't enough to trigger the primary. So there was only one election. It was just the one general election. Marshawn took enough votes away from McCaskill so that Clark won. I mean, I don't support Anthony McCaskill either. I don't think he's transparent. I don't think he follows proper governmental procedures either. I'm just saying, though, we would have at least had a different mayor. But we didn't have enough people run. Does that make sense? Keith Price had a debt to be paid. Exactly. No apologies. And I wonder if he's paid that debt yet. I'm not sure. Not sure. So, excuse me. So if one more person would have run in 2020, what was that? 2023. If one more person would have run, there would have been 4 candidates for mayor. And then that would have triggered the primary. And then the top 2, which we know would have been Chris Clark and Anthony McCaskill. Then only those 2 would have been on the ballot in the general election in April. I think it's February and April. So February primary, April general. And then in April, enough people, even after Chris's first term, enough people realized that he was not doing a good job. And I really think that McCaskill would have won. I think Clark would have lost. I'm not saying McCaskill's good. I'm just saying that because we did not have 4 and we didn't trigger the primary, that's how we ended up getting stuck with the same person. So let's not do that again. And also, I think it's good just for democracy, right? Because that way people don't have to be all pissy and be like, well, Sheila, Susie Q wants to run for 4th Ward alderman, but I wanted to run. He wants to run for 1st Ward. Oh, I wanted to run. It's like, okay, well, if we get at least 4, it's going to be the top 2 will go to the general. I mean, don't you think it's better anyway? Get people more interested. So dirty too. Yeah, the McCaskills. Yep. We'll stay safe. God, his angels watching over me. Oh, good, Beth. No, don't do that again. Cool. Well, that's all I have, unless anybody wants to come and share or say something in particular. But otherwise, I'm good. I'm done, and I'm gonna get going and figure out. Let's see. What do we have going on tomorrow? Do we have anything here in Harvey? Next week, I will be on Monday. I'll be at the Parlberg Fest in South Holland. I'll be there at the Harvey Historical Society table. I will be selling some of my jams. So if you want to buy a few jars of my jams, I will have some jams. That's Labor Day. Otherwise, I think that's about it. Yeah, I don't have any city meetings on the calendar until the 8th, Monday the 8th. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us. Yes, thanks. No apologies, Beth. Straight shooter, Crook. I don't know if you're still with us. Butter, Ramona. Thanks, everybody. Oh, what times are the festival? Okay. Oh, you're still there, Crook? Okay, good. Okay, yeah. Beth was asking about the Parlberg Fest in South Holland. Will be so I will be there. You're welcome to join me. Yeah, if you want to, or if you just want to sit, if you want to sit with me and man the festival with the Harvey Historical Society, we'll be there. It's really cool. They have like a band. They have a band playing and stuff, and it's it's really cool. Monday from 10 to 4. I'm not necessarily going to stay the whole time, but it's Monday from 10 to 4. Maybe I'll stay from noon to 3 or something. I don't know. Okay. You thought we were signing off. Yeah. Oh, thanks, straight shooter. Yes, you too. Sleep well. Good listener, Crook. Okay, sorry. But no, I'm glad I saw Beth's question. But everybody else is good? We're good? Okay, bonne nuit. Have a great night. Au revoir.